Welcome to Sleepy Science Post. Tonight, we're embarking on a gentle journey deep beneath the surface of our world, where time moves differently and silence takes on a texture all its own. Caves are nature's oldest sanctuaries, carved by water and time into chambers of profound stillness. As we explore these underground cathedrals together, let the soothing rhythm of discovery guide you into peaceful rest. Close your eyes when you're ready, and let's descend into the quiet darkness, where each fact is a stepping stone deeper into tranquility. Fact 1. The Patient Sculptors. Our story begins with water, the gentlest and most persistent artist on Earth. Over millions of years, slightly acidic rainwater seeps through soil, dissolving carbon dioxide to become even more acidic. This patient liquid sculptor flows through tiny cracks in limestone, slowly dissolving the rock mineral by mineral. Drop by drop, year after year, century after century, the water carves out spaces that will become caves. The process is so gradual that a single stalactite might grow only 1 cubic centimeter every 100 years. Imagine the profound patience of nature, working in darkness, unseen and unhurried. Fact 2. The breath of mountains. Caves breathe, though not as we do. They inhale and exhale air through countless hidden passages, responding to changes in atmospheric pressure outside. When a storm approaches and pressure drops, caves exhale their cool, mineral-scented breath through their entrances. When high pressure settles over the land, they draw in fresh air from above. This gentle respiration creates a constant, imperceptible flow that keeps cave atmospheres remarkably stable. Stand at a cave entrance on a cold morning, and you might see this breath as mist, the mountain's visible exhale meeting the crisp air. Fact 3. The temperature of eternity. Deep within a cave, past the twilight zone where sunlight fades, temperature becomes eternal. Here, the thermometer reads the average annual temperature of the region above, never wavering more than a degree or two throughout the year. While the surface world cycles through blazing summers and frozen winters, these depths maintain their steady coolness. In most caves, this means a constant 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, a temperature that has remained unchanged for thousands of years. It's the planet's own thermostat, set long ago and held perfectly steady by the insulating embrace of stone. Fact 4. Darkness visible. The darkness in a cave is unlike any darkness you've experienced above ground. Turn off your light deep inside a cave, and you'll encounter what's called absolute darkness, a blackness so complete that your eyes will never adjust to it. There are no distant stars, no moonlight filtering through windows, no street lamps on the horizon. Hold your hand an inch from your face and see nothing. This is the darkness that existed before the first sunrise, the darkness between stars, a darkness so pure it almost becomes a presence of its own. Yet in this void, life has found extraordinary ways to exist. Fact 5. The slowest rain. In the ceiling of caves, water continues its patient work. Seeping through hundreds of feet of rock, each drop carries dissolved calcite. When it emerges from the cave's ceiling, exposed to cave air, some of that calcite precipitates out, leaving behind a microscopic ring of mineral. Drop after drop, ring after ring, these tiny deposits build downward, forming stalactites. The word comes from the Greek stalactos, meaning dripping. Some stalactites have been growing for over 190,000 years, and they're still not done. Each drop is a tiny heartbeat in geological time, tapping out a rhythm that spans epochs. Fact 6. Rising from below. While stalactites grow from ceilings, stalagmites rise from cave floors to meet them. When water drops from above hit the floor, they leave behind more calcite deposits. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, these deposits accumulate upward, building cone-shaped formations. Sometimes, after tens of thousands of years, a stalactite and stalagmite will meet, forming a column that connects floor to ceiling, a pillar built one molecule at a time. The tallest columns in some caves reach over 100 feet high, each inch representing countless centuries of dripping water and patient mineral deposition. Fact 7. The Crystal Gardens. Some caves contain formations so delicate they seem impossible. Helictites twist and turn in defiance of gravity, growing sideways or even upward from cave walls. These crystal spirals form when water seeps through rocks so slowly that capillary action and crystallization forces overcome gravity's pull. The result looks like frozen lightning, or gardens of crystal flowers blooming in slow motion through the millennia. Touch one and it might crumble. These structures are as fragile as they are ancient, preserved only by the cave's unchanging conditions. Fact 8. The Sound of Silence. Caves are among the quietest places on Earth. Deep underground, away from wind, rain, traffic, and voices, sound-absorbing rock creates an acoustic environment that can register below 10 decibels, quieter than a whisper, quieter than breathing. In this profound silence, you can hear your own heartbeat, the movement of blood through your ears. Some people find this silence uncomfortable at first, but gradually it becomes a meditation, a return to the quiet that existed before the world became noisy. It's the sound, or absence of sound, that our ancestors knew in their deepest shelters. Fact 9. Ancient air. In sealed cave chambers, air can remain trapped for thousands of years. Scientists have discovered cave pockets containing atmosphere from the last ice age, little time capsules of ancient air preserved in stone. Analyzing these air samples gives us windows into past climates, showing us what the Earth's atmosphere was like when mammoths walked the land above. Each breath you take in a cave might contain molecules that have been cycling through that same space for millennia, exhaled by ancient explorers, inhaled by sleeping bats, unchanged and unchanging. Fact 10. The Hidden Waterways. Beneath our feet flows a secret network of rivers that never see sunlight. These underground waterways carved many of the world's cave systems, and in some caves, they still flow through passages both known and undiscovered. These rivers move through the dark with patient determination, wearing away stone grain by grain. Some are violent torrents during rains, filling passages completely. Others are gentle streams, producing a soft murmur that echoes through chambers like distant music. Early cave explorers would follow these sounds, knowing that water was the original pathfinder. Fact 11. The Color of Depth. Underground rivers carry no sediment of leaves or soil to cloud them. Instead, they run crystal clear, so transparent that in some places they're nearly invisible. Where cave lights illuminate these waters, they reveal depths that seem to go on forever, blue-black windows into the Earth's interior. The clarity comes from natural filtration through hundreds of feet of limestone, which removes impurities and leaves only pure, mineral-rich water. Some of these underground rivers eventually emerge as springs, delivering water that began its journey in rainfall years or even decades earlier. Fact 12. The Echo Lakes. In some cave chambers, underground rivers widen into perfectly still lakes. These subterranean waters mirror cave formations above with flawless precision, creating illusions of infinite depth. Disturb the surface with a single ripple, and the reflection shivers and reforms, the cave's ceiling appearing to dance. These lakes maintain constant temperatures year-round, never freezing, never warming, existing in a state of equilibrium that can persist for millennia. Fish and other creatures that have adapted to these dark waters glide through them like ghosts, having never known sunlight or seasons. Fact 13. The Singing Stones. Water flowing through caves creates more than just formations, it creates music. As water drips from different heights onto various surfaces, it produces distinct tones. Thin stalactites ring like bells when struck by drops. Pools of different depths create different pitches. In some caves, these natural sounds combine into what cavers call cave music, random, eternal compositions played by water on stone. Ancient peoples noticed this phenomenon, and in some caves around the world, you can still see where they marked the best notes for percussion, turning entire chambers into natural instruments. Fact 14. The Invisible Flow. Not all cave water flows in visible streams. Much of it moves through tiny fissures and cracks in the rock itself, a process called percolation. This invisible flow is how most cave formations receive their water supply. It's too slow to see or hear, but it's always there, delivering molecule after molecule of dissolved limestone to growing formations. This hidden circulation means that caves are never truly dry. They're constantly being shaped by water you cannot see, moving through spaces too small for human perception. Fact 15. The Flood Memory. Cave passages preserve evidence of ancient floods and horizontal lines of sediment on their walls. These marks, sometimes dozens of feet above the current water level, show where underground rivers once flowed at higher volumes. By studying these flood markers, scientists can reconstruct rainfall patterns from thousands of years ago. Each line is a bookmark in Earth's hydrological history, recording storms and wet periods from long before human record-keeping began. The cave remembers every flood, writing them in layers on its walls. Fact 16. The Still Points. Between active waterways lie pools that appear motionless, but even these are part of the cave's circulation. Water enters through invisible seeps, exits through hidden drains, but so gradually that the surface remains glassy and undisturbed. These pools can be remarkably deep, some descending hundreds of feet into flooded passages beyond human reach. Divers exploring these waters report an otherworldly experience, swimming through liquid darkness, unable to see their hands in front of their masks, navigating by touch and memory through flooded halls that may have been dry thousands of years ago. Fact 17. The chemical canvas. Cave water doesn't just carve stone, it decorates it. Dissolved minerals in the water, when exposed to cave air, precipitate out in stunning patterns. Iron oxides create rusty reds and oranges. Copper compounds produce blues and greens. Manganese adds blacks and purples. These mineral pigments paint flowstone in bands of color, each band representing a different period when that particular mineral was more concentrated in the water. The result looks like abstract art, but it's actually a chemical timeline, a visual record of changing conditions in the rock and soil above. Fact 18. The drip calendar. Scientists can use the rate of water dripping in caves as a kind of calendar. By placing receptacles under active drips and measuring the accumulation over time, they learn about rainfall patterns, drought cycles, and seasonal variations. Some drips respond quickly to surface rainfall, speeding up within days of a storm. Others are fed by deep reservoirs that smooth out variations, dripping at rates that barely change across years. This makes caves natural rain gauges, recording precipitation data with a consistency no human instrument could match over centuries. Fact 19. The pale inhabitants. Deep in caves live creatures that have never seen light. Over millions of years, these animals adapted to their dark environment by losing their pigmentation and eyesight, traits that cost energy to maintain but serve no purpose in total darkness. Cave fish, salamanders, and insects appear ghostly white or translucent. Without eyes, they navigate by sensing water movement, chemical trails, and vibrations. These troglodytes, as they're called, represent evolution's response to an environment utterly different from the surface world. They're proof that life, given time, will adapt to nearly any conditions. Fact 20. The slow lives. Cave-adapted creatures live life in slow motion. With limited food resources and stable temperatures, there's no advantage to rapid growth or fast metabolism. Some cave fish can live over 100 years. Cave beetles might take several years to mature. These animals move slowly, feed infrequently, and reproduce at leisurely intervals. They've optimized for efficiency in an environment where energy is precious and nothing changes quickly enough to require haste. It's a different strategy for survival, not through competition and speed, but through patience and conservation. Fact 21. The biological curtains. Hanging from cave ceilings in some regions are colonies of glowworms, larvae of fungus gnats that produce bioluminescent light to attract prey. In the darkness, they create scenes of stunning beauty, hundreds or thousands of tiny blue-green lights arranged across the cave's ceiling like a starfield. Small flying insects, attracted to the glow, become trapped in sticky threads hanging from each larva. It's an ingenious adaptation, creating false stars to lure prey in a world without sun or moon. New Zealand's Waitomo caves are famous for these displays, where the darkness blooms with living light. Fact 22. The Guano Mountains. Where bats inhabit caves, their droppings accumulate into massive deposits called guano. These piles can be dozens of feet deep, representing thousands of years of accumulation. Far from being mere waste, guano supports entire ecosystems. Specialized beetles, mites, and fungi thrive in it. The nutrients from guano fertilize underground streams, feeding blind fish and crustaceans. In some caves, guano deposits are so rich that they've been mined for fertilizer. The bats, in their nightly flights between cave and surface, act as nutrient pumps, bringing energy from the outside world into the cave's food web. Fact 23. The twilight dwellers. Not all cave life lives in total darkness. The twilight zone, near cave entrances where some light penetrates, hosts its own specialized community. These creatures can venture into darkness but still use vision when available. Salamanders rest in moist crevices during the day, hunting near the entrance at night. Cave swallows nest on ledges just inside the entrance. Pack rats build elaborate middens using cave passages for shelter while foraging outside. This zone serves as a bridge between two worlds, and the creatures living there have feet, so to speak, in both. Fact 24. The ancient hibernators. For thousands of years, bears used caves as winter dens. Deep inside, beyond the reach of winter's cold, they would sleep through the lean months. The evidence remains: smooth, worn depressions in clay floors where generations of bears curled up, polished walls where they rubbed against stone, scratches from claws on soft rock. Ancient cave bear bones still lie in some European caves. These animals, larger than modern grizzlies, went extinct about 24,000 years ago, but their sleeping places remain, silent testimonies to winters passed in underground shelter. Fact 25. The invisible gardens. In the constant darkness, where photosynthesis is impossible, life finds other energy sources. Chemosynthetic bacteria in caves break down minerals in rock and water to produce energy, just as deep-sea vent organisms do. These microorganisms form the base of the cave food chain, supporting more complex creatures above them. Some bacteria create delicate, hair-like formations called stalactites hanging from cave ceilings, colonies that drip sulfuric acid and host extremophile microbes. It's a reminder that life doesn't need sunlight, it only needs energy, and energy comes in many forms. Fact 26. The seasonal migrations. Bats transform caves into seasonal nurseries. Every spring, pregnant females gather in maternity caves, sometimes in colonies numbering millions. They give birth in near synchrony, and the cave fills with squeaking infant bats. The mothers navigate by memory and scent to find their own pups among the masses. By late summer, the young can fly, and the colony disperses. But they'll return, generation after generation, to the same caves their ancestors used. Some maternity caves have been continuously occupied for thousands of years, making them among the oldest inherited real estate on Earth. Fact 27. The crisis in the dark. Cave ecosystems face a modern threat: white nose syndrome, a fungal disease affecting hibernating bats. The fungus thrives in the cool, humid cave environment and has killed millions of bats across North America. It's a reminder of how fragile cave ecosystems are. The bats, the guano, the creatures that depend on them, all are interconnected. The loss of bats has effects that ripple through cave systems and out into the wider world, as bats are important pest controllers and pollinators. Conservation efforts now include limiting human access to sensitive caves during hibernation season, giving the bats space to rest undisturbed. Fact 28. The time capsules. Caves preserve ancient DNA with remarkable fidelity. The stable temperatures and protection from UV radiation mean that genetic material can survive for tens of thousands of years in cave sediments. Scientists have extracted DNA from cave bare bones, Neanderthal remains, and even from the sediment itself, revealing which animals lived in or near caves millennia ago. This makes caves invaluable archives of biological history, storing information about extinct species and ancient ecosystems in their dark, unchanging chambers. Fact 29. The first galleries. Humans have been drawn to caves for tens of thousands of years. The oldest known cave art, in Indonesia's Sulawesi caves, dates back at least 45,500 years. Our ancestors ventured deep into lightless passages, carrying torches of burning wood or fat lamps, to paint animals, handprints, and abstract symbols on cave walls. They chose locations deep in the caves, far from living areas, suggesting these places held spiritual significance. Creating art in these challenging locations required planning, cooperation, and a powerful motivation we can only guess at today. Fact 30. The handprint signatures. Among the most moving cave art are handprints, made by blowing pigment around a hand placed on the wall, or by pressing a pigment-covered hand against stone. These images create a direct connection across millennia. Your hand, placed over one of these prints, might match perfectly, finger to finger. In that moment, the 30,000 years between you and the artist collapse. They stood where you stand, looked at this wall, and decided to leave a mark that says, simply, I was here. Some caves contain hundreds of these prints, galleries of ancient human presence. Fact 31. The deep explorers. Ancient peoples ventured far into cave systems, much farther than needed for shelter. In France's Bruniquel Cave, Neanderthals built structures from broken stalagmites 176,500 years ago, deep in the cave where no light reached naturally. What were they doing there? We don't know. But the effort required, breaking formations, transporting pieces, arranging them in circles, suggests purpose and planning. These deep cave visits weren't casual. Something drew humans and their relatives into these spaces, perhaps ceremony, perhaps curiosity, perhaps reasons we can't fathom from our modern perspective. Fact 32. The underground sanctuaries. Many ancient cultures treated caves as sacred spaces, entrances to underworlds, homes of gods, or places of spiritual power. The Maya of Central America conducted ceremonies in caves, leaving offerings in deep chambers. Ancient Greeks dedicated caves to specific gods and built temples at their entrances. This reverence makes sense when you consider the cave experience, entering darkness, descending into the earth, finding strange and beautiful formations, hearing water echo in unseen spaces. Caves feel otherworldly because, in a sense, they follow different rules than the surface realm. Fact 33. The oracle's breath. The famous oracle at Delphi in ancient Greece sat above a cave from which vapors emerged. Modern geological surveys confirmed ethylene gas seeping from a fault line under the temple. When inhaled, ethylene produces a trance-like state. The oracle's prophecies, delivered while breathing these vapors, influenced kings and generals for nearly 1,000 years. Other sacred caves around the world show similar features: natural gas seeps, unusual acoustics, or other properties that may have induced altered states. Caves served as interfaces between ordinary reality and the mysteries ancient peoples sought to understand. Fact 34. The Salt Healers. Some caves contain atmospheres believed to have therapeutic properties. Salt caves in Eastern Europe have been used as healing spaces for centuries. The air in these caves is saturated with salt particles, which some believe helps respiratory conditions. Modern halotherapy chambers attempt to recreate these conditions. Whether the benefits are physical, psychological, or both, people still seek out these underground healing spaces, continuing a tradition of seeing caves as places of restoration and renewal. Fact 35. The Living Fossils. Caves have sheltered human populations during disasters and upheavals throughout history. During World War II, people in Europe and Asia used caves as bomb shelters. Some cities in China have extensive cave systems that were expanded into underground hospitals and factories. In Matera, Italy, people lived in cave dwellings until the 1950s. These weren't primitive shelters but homes carved into rock, some with multiple rooms, passed down through generations. Today, some of these cave dwellings are luxury hotels, their thick stone walls providing natural insulation and quiet. Fact 36. The Accidental Archives. Caves preserve human artifacts with remarkable fidelity. The cool, dry conditions of some caves protect organic materials that would decay in years on the surface. Ancient textiles, wooden tools, food remains, items thousands of years old, emerge from caves in near-perfect condition. The Dead Sea Scrolls survived 2,000 years in cave storage. In dry caves of the American Southwest, archaeologists have found intact baskets, sandals, and even corncobs from civilizations long gone. The cave acts as a time machine, slowing decay to a near halt. Fact 37. The Underground War. Throughout history, caves have served military purposes. The Siu Chi tunnels in Vietnam formed an extensive underground network that sheltered fighters and civilians. Ancient hilltop fortresses often included cave systems for water storage and last resort defense. In some regions, entire underground cities were carved from soft rock, capable of housing thousands, to provide refuge during invasions. These underground fortifications remind us that caves offer more than shelter from weather. They provide concealment, protection, and strategic advantages that surface structures cannot match. Fact 38. The Modern Explorers. Today's cavers, or spelunkers, continue the ancient human drive to explore these spaces. Modern cave exploration combines athletic skill, scientific inquiry, and careful conservation. Explorers squeeze through narrow passages, dive flooded sumps, and map previously unknown systems. New caves are still being discovered, and known caves reveal new passages every year. These modern explorers follow rules that ancient visitors didn't know: stay on marked paths, don't touch formations, pack out all waste. They explore not to conquer but to understand, document, and preserve these fragile environments for future generations. Fact 39. The growing stones. Cave formations never truly stop growing, they're just incredibly slow. A stalactite in Carlsbad caverns might add a layer of calcite the thickness of a sheet of paper every century. Yet given enough time, these accumulations become spectacular. Some flowstone cascades in caves look frozen mid-flow, but they're actually still creeping downward, imperceptibly, adding molecule after molecule of stone to their leading edges. If you could watch a cave for 1,000 years with time-lapse vision, you'd see stone flowing like honey, drips crystallizing into spikes, walls advancing inward as mineral deposits accumulate. Fact 40. The cave pearls. In shallow cave pools, drops falling from the ceiling can create cave pearls, perfectly round stones that grow by accumulating layers of calcite around a nucleus, just like oyster pearls. The constant agitation from dripping water keeps them tumbling, ensuring they grow evenly on all sides. Some cave pearls are marble-sized, others reach the size of baseballs. They rest in their pools like treasures, and indeed, some are quite beautiful when polished. But removing them would be unethical. They're part of the cave's story, each one representing thousands of years of patient, rotating growth. Fact 41. The frozen waterfalls. Flowstone formations occur when water flows in sheets across cave walls or floors rather than dripping. As the thin layer of water moves, it deposits calcite continuously, building up rippled, wavy surfaces that look like frozen waterfalls. Some of these formations span entire walls, cascading from ceiling to floor in curtains of stone that shimmer in light. The colors can be stunning: white, orange, rust red, or brown, depending on the minerals present. Touch the surface, and it's solid stone, but the appearance is of water caught mid-cascade, a moment of flow turned eternal. Fact 42. The hollow straws. Before a stalactite grows thick and conical, it often begins as a soda straw, a thin, hollow tube of calcite hanging from the ceiling. These delicate formations are just a few millimeters in diameter but can extend several feet. Water flows through the central hollow core and deposits calcite only at the very tip, building the straw longer and longer. They're incredibly fragile. A light touch can break one that took thousands of years to form. In caves with many soda straws, they hang from the ceiling like a crystalline pipe organ, each one a testimony to the precision of mineral deposition. Fact 43. The shield formations. Among the rarest cave formations are shields, circular plates of calcite that project from walls or ceilings. They form when water seeps along a crack between two layers of rock, depositing calcite symmetrically on both sides of the crack. The result looks like a large disc or shield emerging from the stone, sometimes several feet across. Scientists debate the exact mechanics of their formation, but their rarity makes them special. Some caves have only one or two shields. Finding a cave with numerous shields is a significant geological discovery. Fact 44. The crystal forests. In certain geological conditions, caves can grow massive crystals. The Cave of Crystals in Mexico contains selenite crystals up to 40 feet long and weighing 55 tons, the largest natural crystals ever discovered. These giants grew in a water-filled chamber maintained at specific temperature and chemical conditions for hundreds of thousands of years. The cave was discovered by miners who pumped out the water, revealing this forest of transparent, crystalline beams crossing the chamber at various angles. It's like a cathedral made by geology, though visiting it requires special equipment due to the extreme heat from geothermal activity below. Fact 45. The limestone pools. Where cave floors have slight terracing, dripping or flowing water can build up limestone dams, low walls of calcite that create natural pools. These pools fill with crystal clear water and overflow at the lowest point of each rim, creating cascading series of pools that can look like terraced rice paddies made of stone. The rims grow slowly as water deposits calcite at the overflow points. Some limestone pool systems contain dozens of pools descending a sloping chamber, each pool reflecting the formations above it like a series of mirrors stepping downward into the earth. Fact 46. The cave rafts. In perfectly still cave pools, thin sheets of calcite can form on the water's surface, crystal rafts that float until they become too heavy and sink to the bottom. This happens when mineral-saturated water is so motionless that calcite precipitates at the air-water interface. The resulting rafts are paper-thin, fragile structures. Over time, layers of sunken rafts accumulate on the pool bottom, creating stratified deposits that record the pool's history. Finding intact floating rafts requires finding a pool that's been undisturbed for decades. Any ripple will break them. Fact 47. The bacon strips. Some drapery formations in caves develop colored banding that makes them look like strips of bacon hanging from the ceiling. These bands represent changes in the mineral content of the water over time. A period of iron-rich water leaves an orange band, cleaner water leaves a white band. The bands can be regular or irregular, thick or thin, creating patterns that are unique to each formation. These bacon strips preserve chemical records of the cave's history, each band a different chapter in the story of water moving through the rock above. Fact 48. The living stone. Believe it or not, some cave formations are biologically active. Colonies of bacteria live on their surfaces, slowly eating the rock and contributing to its reshaping. These microorganisms create tiny amounts of acid that dissolve calcite, then reprecipitate it in different forms. In some caves, microbial coatings give formations distinctive colors or textures. This means the formations aren't just growing from mineral deposition, they're also being sculpted by life, an interaction between biology and geology that plays out over timescales too long for us to easily observe. Fact 49. The frozen caves. In cold climates, some caves fill with ice that persists year-round. These ice caves contain formations as beautiful as their stone counterparts, ice stalactites, frozen waterfalls, and crystalline floors. The ice can be thousands of years old, layered like tree rings, each layer trapping air and particles from the year it formed. Scientists study ice caves to learn about past climates, reading history in frozen layers. Some ice caves contain frozen remains of ancient animals, preserved by the permanent cold, mammoths, cave lions, and other Ice Age fauna emerging from the ice like messages from the Pleistocene. Fact 50. The breathing ice. Some ice caves display a curious phenomenon. They're cold in summer and relatively warm in winter. This happens through a process called cold air trapping. Dense cold air sinks into the cave in winter and remains there, trapped below warmer air. In summer, this cold air keeps the cave frigid while outside temperatures soar. The reverse happens in some caves at higher elevations. This natural air conditioning has made ice caves valuable to humans throughout history, places to store food or simply cool off during hot months. Fact 51. The lava tubes. Not all caves form from dissolved limestone. Lava tubes are caves created by flowing molten rock. When a lava stream develops a crust on top while continuing to flow beneath, it creates a tunnel. When the eruption ends and the lava drains out, a hollow tube remains, a cave formed not by subtraction but by the absence of addition. These caves can be massive. Some Hawaiian lava tubes are wide enough to drive trucks through. Their walls preserve features of molten rock, drips, ripples, and textures that record the flow patterns of lava that passed through decades or millions of years ago. Fact 52. The lava formations. Lava tubes contain their own form of formations. Lava stalactites form from drips of cooling lava. Lava falls mark where molten rock poured from one level to another. Benches along tube walls show different flow levels during the eruption. Some tubes contain colorful mineral deposits left by gases and groundwater interacting with the volcanic rock. The diversity of features in lava tubes rivals that of limestone caves, though formed by entirely different processes, one by fire, the other by water, both resulting in underground worlds of surprising beauty. Fact 53. The glacier mills. Water flowing on glacier surfaces sometimes finds its way down through crevasses, drilling cylindrical holes through the ice called moulins. These vertical shafts can descend hundreds of feet through the glacier, creating caves within ice. Meltwater cascading through moulins creates a thunderous roar, and the walls of these ice caves glow blue from light filtering through the glacier ice. Unlike rock caves, glacier caves are temporary, constantly changing, growing, shrinking, and eventually disappearing as the glacier melts or flows. Every ice cave is unique and will never exist again in quite the same form. Fact 54. The thermal passages. In volcanic regions, some caves are heated by geothermal activity. Steam vents, hot springs, and heated rock create warm caves, the opposite of the cool stability typical of most cave systems. These thermal caves host unique ecosystems adapted to heat. Thermophilic bacteria thrive in the warm conditions, and some caves have entire food webs based on these heat-loving microorganisms. The environment can be challenging for human visitors. Humidity approaches 100%, temperatures exceed those of hot tubs, and breathing the saturated air feels like inhaling steam. Fact 55. The sulfur gardens. Some caves near volcanic areas contain deposits of pure sulfur, bright yellow crystals that smell strongly of rotten eggs. These form where hydrogen sulfide gas emerges from underground and oxidizes in contact with air. The sulfur caves of Mexico are among the most extreme environments on Earth. with sulfuric acid reaching pH levels of 0 in some pools. Yet even here, life persists, bacteria that eat sulfur compounds, creating energy from materials that would poison most organisms. These caves give us glimpses of what life might be like on other planets where conditions differ radically from Earth's surface norms. Fact 56. The mud volcanoes. In some caves, particularly those in areas with clay-rich rock, you can find mud formations that mimic their calcite cousins. These structures form when water saturated with fine clay particles drips or flows through the cave. The clay deposits build up into formations that can look like stalactites, stalagmites, or flowstone, but made of mud rather than stone. These formations are less permanent than stone ones. A single flood can wash them away. But in stable caves, mud formations can persist for centuries, creating delicate structures in shades of brown, gray, or red. Fact 57. The tectonic sculptures. In geologically active regions, earthquakes can dramatically alter caves. Passages shift, formations snap, new cracks appear while old ones seal. Some caves preserve evidence of ancient earthquakes in offset formations or displaced blocks. In a few rare cases, earthquakes create new caves by opening voids in fractured rock. Cave explorers in earthquake-prone regions must be aware that the cave can change. Passages accessible one year might be blocked the next, and stable-looking formations might be under stress that will someday cause them to fail. Fact 58. The pressure chambers. Deep caves sometimes contain rooms where air pressure differs noticeably from the surface. This happens in caves with limited connections to the outside. As weather systems pass overhead, pressure inside the cave lags behind surface pressure changes. Entering these chambers can produce a sensation in your ears like climbing a mountain or descending in an airplane. Some passages act as pressure regulators, whistling or roaring as air rushes through them to equalize pressure differences. The cave becomes a barometer, responding to atmospheric changes on the surface. Fact 59. The disappearing rivers. Some rivers flow into caves and never emerge, at least not where you'd expect. These sinking streams vanish into swallow holes and travel through underground passages, sometimes resurfacing miles away at springs. The connection isn't always obvious. Dye tracing studies have revealed surprising connections between sinks and springs that logic wouldn't suggest. These underground river routes can be complex, with the water taking convoluted paths through multiple levels of passages, always seeking the lowest point, always moving downward toward the water table. Fact 60. The natural filters. As water travels through hundreds of feet of limestone before entering caves, it becomes remarkably pure. The rock acts as a natural filter, removing bacteria, particles, and many contaminants. This filtration process is so effective that cave water is often cleaner than treated tap water. Many communities rely on cave-fed springs for their drinking water, tapping into aquifer systems that have been naturally purified by their journey through stone. The ancient practice of considering springs sacred may have originated partly from recognition of this pure, cold water emerging from the earth. Fact 61. The underground waterfalls. Some caves contain waterfalls that crash down in complete darkness, their sound echoing through chambers in a symphony no one hears. These subterranean cascades can be as tall as surface waterfalls, plunging from upper levels to lower passages in thundering columns of water. Unlike their surface cousins, these falls never see sunlight, never produce rainbows, and go years between human visits. Yet they flow on, constant and powerful, wearing away the stone beneath them, slowly deepening the pools they fall into. Fact 62. The seasonal sumps. Some cave passages flood seasonally, becoming impassable sumps during wet months and walkable passages during dry periods. These flooded sections act as natural gates, protecting deeper portions of caves from all but the most determined explorers. Cave divers wait for dry seasons to pass these sumps safely, or dive through them in full scuba gear, navigating flooded tunnels in zero visibility, feeling their way along guide ropes. Beyond these sumps often lie pristine passages that few humans have ever seen. Fact 63. The drip rhythms. If you sit quietly in a cave and listen, you'll hear countless drips, each with its own rhythm and pitch. Some drip rapidly during wet seasons, slowing to occasional drops during droughts. Others maintain steady beats that barely change across decades. These varied rhythms create a natural percussion, a random composition that's never quite the same twice. Ancient peoples must have noticed these sounds, sitting in firelight deep in caves, listening to water's patient music while painting animals on the walls around them. Fact 64. The Big Room. Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico contains the Big Room, a chamber so vast it could hold 6 football fields. The ceiling soars over 250 feet overhead in places, and the floor space exceeds 357,000 square feet. Walking through it feels like being inside a cathedral designed by geology itself. The sheer scale challenges comprehension. Stalactites that seem nearby are actually hundreds of feet away. Early visitors described feeling overwhelmed by the size, by the realization that they stood in a void carved out by water drop by drop over millions of years. Fact 65. The Crystal Throne. In Lechuguilla Cave, also in New Mexico, explorers discovered chambers decorated with gypsum chandeliers, massive formations of pure white crystals that seem to defy gravity. Some of these chandeliers are 20 feet long, hanging from ceilings like frozen fireworks. The cave maintains such stable conditions that these delicate structures have survived for thousands of years, never disturbed by wind or flood. Visitors are strictly limited to preserve these formations. Most people will only see them in photographs, but even images convey their otherworldly beauty. Fact 66. The Painted Galleries. Lascaux Cave in France, discovered in 1940, contains some of humanity's oldest art, paintings of horses, bulls, and deer created roughly 17,000 years ago. The quality is stunning. These weren't crude stick figures but sophisticated representations showing movement, perspective, and anatomical accuracy. The artists used the natural contours of cave walls to give their subjects three-dimensional form. Sadly, the cave is now closed to the public. Breath and body heat from visitors were damaging the paintings. A replica cave was built nearby, allowing people to experience the space while protecting the irreplaceable originals. Fact 67. The Glowworm Grottos. In New Zealand's Waitomo Caves, thousands of glowworms transform underground rivers into scenes from fairy tales. Boat tours glide through darkness illuminated only by these living lights, creating an experience like floating under a starry sky reflected in water. The silence during these tours is profound. Guides stop rowing and let the boat drift, allowing visitors to float in darkness beneath the blue-green constellation of glowworms. It's an experience that feels both ancient and otherworldly, a reminder that beauty exists in unexpected places. Fact 68. The Reed Flute Palace. China's Reed Flute Cave has been a tourist attraction for over 1,200 years, with ink inscriptions on its walls dating back to 792 CE. The cave earned its name from the reeds growing outside its entrance, which were used to make flutes. Inside, colorful lighting illuminates formations with poetic names: Crystal Palace, Dragon Pagoda, Virgin Forest. While modern lighting is a recent addition, the cave's beauty has attracted visitors for millennia, proving that our fascination with these underground spaces spans cultures and centuries. Fact 69. The Marble Halls. Marble Arch caves in Northern Ireland feature underground rivers flowing through passages carved in limestone. The tours include a boat ride on these dark waters, passing through chambers where formations reflect in the river surface. The constant sound of flowing water creates a meditative atmosphere. The name comes from natural rock formations that arch over passages like architectural features. These water-carved tunnels demonstrate the power of erosion operating over geological time frames. What seems solid and permanent to us is fluid on the cave's timescale. Fact 70. The Ice Palace. Eisriesenwald in Austria is the world's largest ice cave, containing over 42 kilometers of passages. The ice formations inside include frozen waterfalls, ice columns, and crystalline chambers that glitter in lamplight. The cave is only accessible during summer months when a trail to its entrance is snow-free, yet inside, the ice remains frozen year-round. The juxtaposition is striking, emerging from summer sunshine into winter preserved underground, an eternal cold maintained by the cave's unique ventilation. Fact 71. The Sun Dung Passages. Vietnam's Sun Dung Cave is the world's largest cave passage by volume. Some of its chambers are so large they have their own weather systems, with clouds forming near the ceiling. Sunlight streams through collapsed sections, creating underground jungles where trees grow in soil built up over millennia. A river flows through the cave, and explorers have camped for days inside its passages. The scale is almost impossible to grasp. A Boeing 747 could fly through some sections without touching walls or ceiling. Fact 72. The Jewel Box. Jewel Cave in South Dakota is among the world's longest caves, with over 200 miles of mapped passages. It's famous for its calcite crystals covering the walls, sparkling formations called dogtooth spar that give the cave its name. In places, these crystals coat every surface, creating chambers that glitter in lamplight like treasure rooms. The cave continues to reveal new passages. Explorers regularly discover extensions, suggesting that much remains unknown in this vast underground system. Fact 73. The Bottomless Pit. Mammoth Cave in Kentucky is Earth's longest known cave system, with over 400 miles of surveyed passages, and explorers continue finding more. Early tourists were shown a feature called the Bottomless Pit, a dark shaft that seemed to descend forever. In reality, it's about 105 feet deep, but in the limited light of early exploration, it must have seemed truly bottomless. The cave got its name not from mammoths but from its mammoth size, though the bones of extinct animals, including mammoths, have been found in the region's caves. Fact 74. The First Explorers. Before modern equipment, cave exploration required remarkable courage. Early explorers entered with simple torches, rope, and determination. They squeezed through tight passages not knowing if they'd widen ahead, climbed down drops without knowing if they could climb back up. Some caves still contain artifacts from these early explorations, charcoal marks on walls, old rope anchors, even initials carved in soft rock. These marks connect us to the explorers who came before, who ventured into darkness with far less certainty about what they'd find or whether they'd return. Fact 75. The Mapping Challenge. Creating accurate cave maps is enormously difficult. Unlike surface mapping, you can't use GPS underground, and passages twist in 3 dimensions. Early cave maps were crude sketches, often wildly inaccurate. Modern cave surveying uses careful measurements, distances, angles, and compass bearings, taken station by station through the cave. The surveyor calls out measurements while another records them, gradually building a 3-dimensional picture of the cave's geometry. It's painstaking work. A survey team might spend hours mapping a section of cave they could walk through in minutes. Fact 76. The Tight Squeezes. Many cave discoveries lie beyond squeezes, passages so narrow that explorers must exhale to fit through, sometimes slithering on their bellies with inches of clearance. These restricting sections keep casual visitors out but don't stop determined cavers. The calculation is always risk versus reward. Is what lies beyond worth the danger of getting stuck? Many significant cave extensions were discovered by someone willing to try a squeeze that others turned back from. Modern rescue techniques have improved, but getting stuck in a tight passage remains every caver's nightmare. Fact 77. The Vertical World. Cave exploration sometimes requires serious vertical caving techniques. Explorers descend pits hundreds of feet deep, rappelling on ropes in complete darkness, then must climb back up using mechanical ascenders. Unlike rock climbing, where you can see your route, vertical caving often means descending into blackness, not knowing what awaits at the bottom. The psychological challenge is as significant as the physical one, trusting your rope, your equipment, and your skills while dangling in a void that swallows your light. Fact 78. The Underwater Frontier. Cave diving represents exploration's extreme edge. Divers navigate flooded passages in zero visibility, following guidelines they've placed on previous dives. They carry multiple light sources, knowing that losing all lights in a flooded cave is usually fatal. There's no way to find the exit in absolute darkness underwater. Silt disturbed by fins can reduce visibility to zero for hours. Yet divers continue pushing into these aquatic caves, discovering chambers that have been underwater for thousands of years, expanding our map of the underground world. Fact 79. The Time Travelers. Modern cavers occasionally discover passages untouched since prehistoric times. They find chambers with delicate formations intact, floors covered in undisturbed sediment, or even ancient animal tracks preserved in clay. These discoveries feel like opening time capsules. The first person to enter leaves the first marks in dust that settled there before recorded history began. It's a privilege and a responsibility. These spaces can be visited, documented, and studied, but they can never be truly pristine again after that first human presence. Fact 80. The Conservation Challenge. As caves become more accessible, protecting them becomes more critical. A single touch can stop a stalactite's growth. Oils from human skin contaminate the mineral surface, preventing water from depositing more calcite. Foot traffic destroys delicate formations, erodes trails into cave floors, and introduces foreign materials. Modern caving culture emphasizes minimal impact. Stay on marked trails, don't touch formations, pack out all waste. Some sensitive caves are closed to all but scientific research. The goal is to explore and study while preserving these spaces for future generations. Fact 81. The Rescue Stories. Cave rescues make headlines because they're dramatic and dangerous. Extracting an injured person from a cave can require dozens of rescuers working in shifts over days. They must carefully move the patient through tight squeezes, up vertical sections, through water. The most famous rescue, of a Thai soccer team trapped in Tam Luang Cave in 2018, captivated the world. 13 people were successfully brought out from deep in a flooded cave system, an operation that seemed impossible but succeeded through expertise, courage, and international cooperation. Fact 82. The Lost Treasures. Some caves contain archaeological treasures discovered by explorers. In some Central American caves, archaeologists have found ancient pottery left in deep chambers by Maya peoples conducting ceremonies. In European caves, animal bones and Stone Age tools lie where they were dropped millennia ago. These artifacts tell stories about our ancestors, what they valued, how they lived, why they ventured deep into caves. Each discovery adds to our understanding of human history, revealing behaviors and beliefs that left no trace on the surface. Fact 83. The Modern Tools. Today's cave explorers use technology that would astound earlier cavers. LED lights last for hours on small batteries. Digital survey tools record measurements and create 3D models. Drones can fly into large passages, capturing video of areas too dangerous for humans. Yet despite these advances, exploration still requires the same courage and determination it always has. Technology helps, but can't replace human judgment, problem solving, and willingness to venture into the unknown. Fact 84. The climate records. Cave formations contain detailed records of past climates. As stalactites grow, they record the chemistry of rain that fell on the surface above. Scientists can analyze growth layers like tree rings, extracting information about temperature, rainfall, and atmospheric composition from thousands of years ago. Some stalagmites contain records spanning hundreds of thousands of years, archives of climate data far more detailed than ice cores in many cases. These records help scientists understand natural climate variation and predict future changes. Fact 85. The dating methods. Determining a cave formation's age requires sophisticated techniques. Uranium-thorium dating can date calcite formations up to about 500,000 years old. The method relies on radioactive uranium in the water that formed the stalactite or stalagmite, which decays into thorium at a known rate. By measuring the ratio of uranium to thorium, scientists calculate how long ago the calcite crystallized. These dates help reconstruct when caves formed, when water levels changed, and how long specific formations took to grow. Fact 86. The microbial miners. Scientists studying cave microbes have discovered bacteria that survive on surprising diets. Some eat hydrogen sulfide, others consume manganese or iron, and some even break down hydrocarbons. These extremophiles, organisms living in extreme conditions, interest astrobiologists studying potential life on other planets. If life can thrive in the darkness and limited nutrients of caves, similar life might exist in subsurface environments on Mars or in the oceans beneath Europa's ice. Caves become laboratories for understanding life's possibilities throughout the universe. Fact 87. The earthquake monitors. Caves serve as natural seismographs, recording earthquake activity in their formations. Broken stalactites, offset layers, and collapsed chambers provide evidence of ancient earthquakes. By dating these features, scientists reconstruct regional earthquake history extending far beyond written records. Some caves contain evidence of earthquakes that happened tens of thousands of years ago. This long-term perspective helps scientists understand earthquake frequency and magnitude in specific regions, improving hazard assessments for populations living nearby. Fact 88. The pollution indicators. Because caves are so sensitive to environmental changes, they can serve as early warning systems for pollution. Contaminants in groundwater show up in cave streams. Changes in drip rates indicate alterations in surface hydrology. Even air quality in caves can reflect surface activities. Smoke from forest fires, industrial emissions, or agricultural chemicals can all find their way underground. Scientists monitor caves to detect environmental problems that might not yet be obvious on the surface, using caves as probes into the health of aquifer systems. Fact 89. The medical frontiers. Cave organisms produce unusual compounds that interest pharmaceutical researchers. Bacteria living in extreme cave environments often produce unique antibiotics, chemicals they use to compete with other microbes for limited resources. Some of these compounds show promise against drug-resistant bacteria. Cave organisms might help solve one of medicine's most pressing challenges, the growing problem of antibiotic resistance. The darkness that preserved these organisms for millions of years might now help protect human health. Fact 90. The radon laboratories. Some caves contain high levels of radon, a radioactive gas that seeps from certain types of rock. While high radon levels in homes are a health concern, controlled exposure and special cave therapy is practiced in some countries for treating certain conditions. Whether the benefits are real or placebo remains debated, but the practice continues in caves in Austria, Germany, and other nations. These radon caves demonstrate how the same feature can be viewed as either hazard or healing, depending on exposure level and context. Fact 91. The acoustic studies. Scientists study cave acoustics to understand how ancient peoples might have used these spaces. Some caves have remarkable acoustic properties. Sounds carry and resonate in specific chambers while being muffled in others. Interestingly, prehistoric art in caves often correlates with locations of unusual acoustic effects. This suggests ancient peoples noticed and valued these properties, perhaps using echoing chambers for ceremonies or music. Modern musicians have held concerts in caves, experiencing the unique sound environments that our ancestors knew thousands of years ago. Fact 92. The karst landscapes. Caves are just the hollow spaces in karst landscapes, regions where soluble rock creates distinctive surface and subsurface features. The surface above caves often shows sinkholes, disappearing streams, and springs. This porous landscape means surface water quickly moves underground, making karst regions both water-rich, with caves and aquifers, and prone to drought, as surface water drains away. Understanding the connection between surface and cave is crucial for managing water resources in karst regions, which cover about 20% of Earth's land surface. Fact 93. The water protectors. Many communities depend on cave aquifers for drinking water, which makes protecting caves a public health issue. A spill on the surface, pesticides, fuel, chemicals, can travel quickly into cave systems and contaminate water supplies for thousands of people. Some regions have enacted cave protection zones where potentially polluting activities are restricted. These regulations recognize that caves aren't isolated curiosities but vital parts of hydrological systems that supply homes, farms, and cities. Fact 94. The collapse risk. Sinkholes form when cave ceilings collapse, sometimes suddenly. Urban development can trigger sinkholes by altering water flow patterns. Pumping groundwater, for instance, removes support from cave ceilings, potentially causing collapse. Engineers working in karst regions must survey for caves before building, and some construction projects have been relocated after discovering unstable cave systems beneath proposed building sites. The hollow ground beneath us is mostly stable, but human activities can upset balances that have persisted for millennia. Fact 95. The tourist caves. Show caves. Caves developed for public tours, balance accessibility with conservation. Paths, lights, and safety features allow visitors to experience caves without extensive training or equipment. These caves introduce millions of people to the underground world, inspiring appreciation and conservation support. However, the infrastructure required to make caves safe and accessible can impact the cave environment. Modern show cave management tries to minimize these impacts while maintaining public access, recognizing that people protect what they love, and they can't love what they've never experienced. Fact 96. The economic value. Caves provide economic benefits beyond tourism. They supply water to communities, offer unique research opportunities, and support rare species found nowhere else. Cave-adapted creatures sometimes become flagship species for conservation efforts, protecting not just the cave but entire surrounding ecosystems. Some regions have built identities around their caves, attracting visitors and supporting local economies. The challenge is ensuring that economic use doesn't degrade the resource, finding sustainable ways to benefit from caves while preserving them. Fact 97. The cultural heritage. For many cultures, specific caves hold deep spiritual or historical significance. These sites deserve protection not just as geological features but as cultural treasures. Indigenous groups may have traditional connections to certain caves spanning countless generations. Archaeologists find evidence of continuous human use of some caves for tens of thousands of years. Modern society must balance scientific study, public access, and respect for cultural significance, a complex negotiation that acknowledges caves as belonging to everyone and to no one. Fact 98. The educational windows. Caves serve as natural classrooms for teaching geology, biology, hydrology, and environmental science. Students visiting caves see firsthand how water shapes landscapes, how organisms adapt to extreme environments, and how human activities impact natural systems. The experience of being underground, the darkness, the cool air, the sense of entering another world, makes learning memorable. Educational cave programs create advocates for conservation, training the next generation to understand and protect these fragile environments. Fact 99. The undiscovered majority. Despite centuries of exploration, scientists estimate that most of Earth's caves remain undiscovered. They lie beneath jungles, deserts, and oceans, waiting to be found. Some are in remote regions difficult to access. Others have entrances hidden by vegetation or collapsed long ago. Each year, explorers discover new caves or find extensions to known systems. The frontier isn't closed, it's just underground. Future generations will explore caves we don't yet know exist, finding chambers where no light has ever shone, passages that water carved before humans walked the earth. Fact 100. The eternal silence. As our journey through caves draws to a close, return to where we began, in silence and darkness. These underground spaces will outlast us by geological ages. Long after our civilization has faded, stalactites will continue their patient growth, adding layer after microscopic layer. Underground rivers will flow through passages carved over millions of years. The caves keep their own time, measured not in human lifetimes but in the slow dance of water and stone. As you drift towards sleep, imagine you're resting in a cave chamber, cool stone beneath you, perfect darkness around you, the distant sound of water dripping its eternal rhythm. You're safe here, in this quiet place where time moves slowly and nothing rushes. The cave has been here for millions of years and will remain for millions more, patient and unchanging. Let that permanence calm you, let that ancient peace surround you, and let yourself rest in the gentle embrace of deep time. The caves will keep their watch while you sleep. They've been doing it forever. Thank you for joining Sleepy Science Post on this journey into the underground world. May your dreams be as peaceful as a hidden cave, as deep as underground rivers, and as timeless as stone. Rest well,